What exactly did HYBE just admit to making the army in different parts of the world simultaneously silent, then panic? The question comes almost at the same time as Taehyung and Jungkook's name searches surge on social media, as if something that has been kept tight is now leaking through an unexpected small gap. There were no long statements, no grandiose press conferences, but one brief confession was enough to trigger global emotional turmoil. Why does that sentence feel different? And why do many feel this is not just an ordinary clarification? Clues began to appear. Some of HYBE's chosen phrases were considered too carefully, as if implying a larger context than what was written. Old fans captured familiar nuances, old gestures that now feel relevant, silent moments that were once missed, to Jungkook and Taehyung's interactions that were again replayed with a new angle. Is this a coincidence? Or is it precisely the puzzle piece that finally finds its place? Emotional reactions are inevitable. The timeline turns into a sea of theories, translations, and snippets of old clips that suddenly go viral. Some cry, some are angry, some choose to be silent, because whatever the meaning, the confession feels like it touches the deepest side of the relationship that so far can only be guessed at. Amid the noise, one thing is clear. The statement opens up a wide space for interpretation, and each interpretation carries its own emotional load. HYBE's official silence was noisier than any clarification. The longer there is no further statement, the wilder the public imagination moves. Some fans felt the confession was like a door deliberately left half open enough to reveal the light behind it, but not enough to explain what was really inside. Why now? Why do the words feel so measured, as if each letter was chosen with heavy emotional consideration? On the other hand, Taehyung and Jungkook's names continue to stay at the top of the global conversation. Pieces of old interviews, live broadcasts of years ago, to small moments that were once considered trivial are now being watched again with bated breath. Many claim to feel something different, the feeling that the relationship between the two is always deeper than what it seems on the surface, but only this time it feels recognized, albeit indirectly. Is this a form of protection? Or a hint that the line between rumor and reality is beginning to shift? What made the situation even more emotional was the silent reaction of the other members. There are no open comments, but one short upload, one replayed song, or even a long silence is precisely read as a signal. The army is torn between those who want the truth fully revealed and those who fear that honesty will bring new wounds. In the midst of that emotional tug-of-war, the world seems to forget that behind all the speculation, there are people with real feelings. Now, the global turmoil is no longer about a single confession, but about the hopes, fears, and emotional attachments that have been built up over the years. In the midst of a steady stream of emotions, there was a slow but strong realization among the army that what was happening this time was different from the previous controversy. There was no hard rebuttal, no quick closure as the industry often does. Instead, there is an empty space, a space that is usually avoided, is now left open. And that empty space is filled by feelings that have been latent so far: curiosity, attachment, and concern for what might unfold next. Some fans call this moment a turning point. Not because there is a definite answer, but because the recognition changes the way of seeing. Taehyung and Jungkook's relationship is now discussed in a quieter, more cautious tone, as if everyone is aware that whatever happens behind the scenes is not just a matter of public consumption. There are emotions that must be respected, there are limits that may have been invisible, but they are always there. At the same time, the global entertainment world was holding its breath. The international media began to observe, analysts tried to read between the lines, and the industry saw how one vague statement could shake millions of people across languages and cultures. It is no longer about sensations, but about a real emotional impact. How a confession, no matter how small, is able to stir up collective feelings on a global scale. And as time went on, one feeling slowly strengthened in the minds of many. Whatever the truth behind all this, the army would always be at the crossroads between wanting to know and wanting to protect. Maybe that's the real chaos, not the endless media frenzy or theories, but rather the clash between love, curiosity, and the fact that not all stories have to be fully revealed. But that's exactly where the emotion hits. Many begin to ask themselves, Since when did this attachment become so deep? Since when has one vague phrase from an agency been able to make millions of people feel anxious, hurt, and hopeful at the same time? HYBE's confession is, intentionally or not, like a mirror reflecting back the long journey between Taehyung, Jungkook, and the fans who grew up with them. In different countries, the reaction appeared almost uniformly. There are those who choose to close the application to calm down. There are those who are awake until the early hours of the morning reading every possible meaning. Some soldiers claim to feel pulled back to the early days when everything seemed simpler, before the spotlight of the world was as big as it is now. As if the recognition evokes both nostalgia and fear of inevitable change. What is most surprising, in the midst of this chaos, comes a strong empathy. Many voices reminded that whatever HYBE actually meant, Taehyung and Jungkook were still human beings living under tremendous pressure. That perhaps behind those official sentences, there is an attempt to keep something fragile. Something that has survived precisely because it has never been clearly explained. Now, when the wave of reaction has slowed but not yet fully receded, one impression remains clear. This recognition has left its mark. Not a trace of scandal, but an emotional trace that is difficult to erase.